Hello pandas of the internet, my name is Panda-chan. I am a full-time artist-ish, a part-time cosplayer, and to be honest, someone who feels more tired after coming back from vacation. With a hectic work schedule, moving rooms, and life in general, I did not have much time to record audio, but I didn't want to leave you guys hanging without a video. So let's get into this lighthearted story. This RPG horror story time was submitted by And All That Jasper. My player tried to base my whole campaign on a video game, secretly. A while ago, I ran a game of Apocalypse World for a bunch of new players. The player in question, who I had not met before, was a little quiet and kind of awkward over text and in the start of session 0. Nothing out of the ordinary though. I figured they just needed time to come out of their shell. They told us that they wanted to borrow a name from a video game and listed a few different options before letting us know which they had decided on. A girl from some sci-fi game I'd never heard of. I don't really play shooters or online games. Their PC was a bit of a generic cool character, complete with an Akira motorcycle, but you know, fine. Apocalypse World calls for collaborative world building, so I always ask my players for ideas about the setting and major factions during session 0. This player was super enthusiastic about this part and suggested a bunch of faction ideas. One of the suggestions they had rung as a little, questionable. It involved some offensive stereotypes about Southerners, which was especially uncomfortable since one of our players was Southern. I chucked this up to them not being from North America and not realizing it might offend somebody. We kept the skeleton of the idea, but replaced the questionable stuff with new ideas that the other players contributed. They seemed a little perturbed that we didn't use their idea as is and kept correcting people, which was a bit weird, but whatever. Before session 1, I took a look at their character sheet, and it seemed fine. The character was a radio host, so they had to write down a few contacts in the local area. The ideas were pretty normal: a bartender, an old lover, a gang of street urchins. But the names they picked were strange as hell. Just a bunch of syllables. I remembered that they had name-dropped a bunch of sci-fi games and movies before. Okay, they were just a sci-fi nerd. I briefly considered telling them that it didn't fit the setting and we had to change them. But I thought that would be rude, and I could live with some weirdly named characters. They got a start of session roll to determine what kind of information they got from their informants, so every session they would do a news broadcast. They were clearly reading parts of it from a script, but given they did this every session and would know to prepare for it, I didn't find it odd that they'd prep ahead of time, though it was the most effort they ever gave, honestly. As a player, they weren't great. They never followed my leads or interacted with my plot hooks. They didn't seem to care about anything happening in the game. And when they followed the other PCs around, they didn't bother to contribute even when we prompted them. Their character choice was also terrible for them. She was supposed to be a cool, sexy badass, but they absolutely could not roleplay that. I'm not even sure why they applied to a game that was labeled as roleplay heavy when they clearly were not suited for it. I tried very hard to accommodate them and make the game fun for them, but it did not work out. Eventually, scheduling conflicts got in the way, and on the way out, they casually mentioned that they've been kicked out of 5 games before joining mine. I think I might be a bit of a doormat. Whoops! I know the twist is probably very obvious to you, but rest assured that it's only because I'm writing this in hindsight. Almost a year later, I was talking about this game and my experience with this player with a friend, and decided to go back and look at their character sheet. Those informant names were so specific and odd, they didn't really feel like generic sci-fi. I googled one. It's from Warframe. Wasn't that the same game they borrowed their PC name from? So I googled the next one, and the next one, all Warframe. Looking over the wiki pages, all of the characters seemed like weird, apocalypsified versions of the Warframe characters. I did some more digging. All the faction ideas they gave us, all the scripts they were reading off of, all from Warframe. All in all, not a single idea the player contributed to the game or their own character was original. And apart from maybe the Akira motorcycle, every single idea was lifted directly from the video game Warframe, names and everything. They never mentioned this to me or any of the other players a single time. Why? I have a feeling that maybe they tried being less sneaky about it in previous games and got told off by GMs who were not interested in running like Warframe themed D&D for them. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing weird at all about basing your game's plot or even your characters off of pre-existing media. I mean, there's a whole Star Wars RPG, but something about doing it sneakily is so funny to me. Like, if my husband told me he was going out with the boys and instead spent the day at a shoe store, I'd find it much more suspicious than if he just told me he needed new shoes. But hopefully someday they'll find a GM who actually plays Warframe to run the game for them. My god, the shoe metaphor was so funny I had to re-record the part 3 or more times because I kept laughing so much. And I totally agree. I have played in a game before where I based my character on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And to be honest, it was much better and way more fun when my GM knew about it and used it in the story. It's good to get inspired by media, but it's just so unbelievably funny the way the player tried to go about it. But with that, we have come to the end of the video. I would like to thank the new people joining. I have had so much fun reading and responding to the comments you pandas leave. So thank you a lot. It has made me even more excited to continue making videos. That being said, the original story is in the description. Go check it out. Leave a like and subscribe, and tell me in the comments what media would you secretly base your PC off of. And as always, I will see you next time.